Hey y'all, and welcome back to Sweet Pea and Peonies Designs. I'm Jennifer, and today I'm going to show you how I rhinestone this pen. I got this pretty pink colored pen. It's a diamond top pen from the Blinging Bluebird. I've taped off the top with some electrical tape, and then I sanded the two pink parts with a 120 grit sanding block and then cleaned it up with some 91% rubbing alcohol. So I taped it off because I want to make sure I don't scuff up any of the metal that's underneath that electrical tape. I'm using stone size or SS10 Rose AB stones, glass stones from the Blinging Bluebird. Then I'm going to apply those stones with this Crystal Katana wax tool. That black tip right there is made of wax, so I'm going to actually pick up the stones with that black tip and apply them into the glue of my pen that's on my pen. The little tip that's on the other side of that wax tool, I can just move any stones around or anything like that. I'm using liquid fusion glue in a precision tip bottle, and this pink thing is a glue holder to allow my glue to be at the top of my bottle, so it doesn't, gravity doesn't pull it down to the bottom of my bottle, making it hard to squeeze out. So this is sped up because this took about 2 hours to apply all these stones to the pen. But basically what I'm doing is applying these stones in a honeycomb method. I am going to zoom in or bring the pen a little closer to the camera in just a second and kind of show y'all a little bit better what I'm doing. But basically I applied 10 stones to this pen. That is my foundation line. I want to make sure that that line is nice and straight and that the stones are evenly spaced next to each other. If there's a little bit of gap once you apply all of your stones, you can just kind of move the stones around and make sure that the gaps in between the stones are equal. If your stones aren't equal or some stones are higher or lower, then the lines underneath of stones that you're applying will end up being wavy and it won't be nice crisp lines of stones. So just keep that in mind. So here we are showing y'all. So basically what I'm doing is applied that first row of stones, and then when I go to apply the second row, I'm not going to put a stone directly underneath a stone that's above it. I'm going to put a stone underneath where the two stones above it meet. So you're going to have two stones on the top side by side, and then one stone that's going to go right underneath where those two stones create a little bit of space. So basically it's going to be like a triangle, two stones at the top and then one stone underneath in the middle of those two stones right where they meet. I hope that makes sense. I hope I explained that well. I will do like more of a non-sped up video in the future of the honeycomb method and just kind of explain it a little bit better. There are different methods when you are rhinestoning. There's the honeycomb method, which is how I'm doing this pen. There's the scatter method, linear method, and circular method. I'm not sure that I will do all of them, but I will show you the ones that, I am doing in a non-sped up video. So basically I'm going to do that for this entire pen, okay? And as you can see, I basically applied all the stones for a row, and then I used that little tip on the other side of my wax tool to make sure that they're pushed up the way they need to be, make sure the spacing is good, and then I also used that little tip to push down in the middle of the stone to make sure that the stone is pressed into the glue and not kind of just sitting on top of it. So you'll see in a second we go from landscape mode to portrait mode in our video. So the first portion of the video, I taped it, and then this part right here, the rest of the video I had actually done on TikTok live. So that's why it's in portrait mode, because TikTok does portrait mode. So that's why it's like that. If you want to go check out my TikTok, I do a lot of lives. Actually, all the projects that I've done with rhinestones, I have done lives on them. So that's a really good place to try and catch me and be able to see exactly what I'm doing. I explain throughout the entire live over and over again what I'm doing. You can also ask me questions on there. If I know the answers, I am more than happy to help. Also, I am very new at this. I've only done 4 rhinestone projects. I've done a Scatter Method wine tumbler, which I do plan on sharing on YouTube. It just took me about 15-ish hours to do. That's a lot of footage to go through. So I haven't started that process yet. I have done 2 pens, this pen and a light pink pen, and I have done a rainbow ombre tumbler, and all of those I did on live on TikTok. So again, I'll have that linked below. Check it out. And again, I go live a lot on there. You can ask me a lot of questions, and I go more in depth on how I am doing my process on there. So basically, I am just applying these stones all the way down this pen. So you can probably see right above my thumb, there is a little like different colored part of the pen. So basically this is a twist pen. It's not a click pen or anything like that. You have to twist the 2 parts to allow the ballpoint tip to come out. So that different colored part is some rose gold metal just to separate those 2 parts. So as I'm applying the stone and getting closer to that rose gold metal piece, I want to make sure that I don't cover up that rose gold piece. If I put stones on top of it, then it's not going to twist. If I put the stones too close to it and the glue ends up, seeping into the cracks where there's the pink part, like the light pink part meets the rose gold metal circular piece, then the pen's not going to spin. So I did spend a lot of time making sure that the stones weren't going to go too far down into that spot, and also made sure that the glue wasn't going to accidentally glue those 2 pieces together. So if you're using a diamond top pen like this, just keep that in mind, that you want to make sure that the stones and the glue aren't messing with the functionality of your pen. So if you are applying that last row and you realize that there is some, the stones don't go down as much as you would like it, you can kind of finagle them a little bit and just push the stones down a little bit more and just fix that spacing in the rows above it to accommodate for having to move those stones down just a little bit, which I did have to do, and you can't even tell. Okay, so there I am. I applied that last row, and I'm just making sure that it's not going to mess with the functionality of this pen. So as I'm applying that row below this one, obviously I don't want to apply it on top of that rose gold piece. Like I just said, I want to apply it on the light pink part of my pen. But I also want to make sure that when I'm doing this, I'm still keeping up with that honeycomb pattern that I was doing. So I'm going to make sure that the first stone that I apply on that bottom light pink part is still following that pattern. So I'm going to look at the stone above, and even though there's that space there, I'm going to line that stone up that I'm about to apply with the row above it where it should go. So there's still going to be a gap, but I'm still keeping up with that honeycomb pattern. So I hope that that makes sense. So once I get that line or that row of stones all where I need them to be, I'm just going to continue down the pen like I was before. So it's almost like you have 2 foundation lines, one at the very top of the pen, right below the diamond part of the pen, and then you have another foundation line right below the rose gold, I don't know what you would call it, the little circular thing where you twist the pen. You do want to make sure with those foundation lines that as you're applying the stones, because the glue doesn't dry instantly. So you applied that first row of stones and then you're going to apply that second row underneath it. You need to make sure that as you're applying them, you're not pushing those stones into that first line and moving those stones. So just be conscious of that as you're applying the stones, because the ones above it will kind of shift a little bit. So you just have to move them and make sure that everything is just in line. I know it probably sounds really tedious, but it's really, really not. You're just making sure that if you shift a stone above it, that you put it back in place. So as I'm getting further and further down this pen, you can see at the very tip, the pen is tapered. So basically the pen is the same width all throughout it until you get to the tip. It gets more narrow where the ballpoint tip is going to come out of the pen. So if you're wanting to bling this entire pen, you will need smaller sized stones. So I'm using SS10 size stones. You would need probably SS8, SS6. I'm not 100% sure, but basically you would want to have smaller stones to accommodate for that taper. Because if not, if you're using the SS10 stones down into that taper, you're gonna lose that honeycomb pattern. I actually tried to bling the entire pen, but I lost that honeycomb pattern. It just looked messy, and so I ended up removing those stones. So just keep in mind, if you want to bling the entire thing, you will need probably a stone size 8, maybe SS6 as well, to accommodate for that taper. And I also just applied these stones until I started to notice that I was losing that honeycomb pattern. I wasn't really sure where to stop, so I just kept applying stones until it started to, again, lose that pattern and look a little messy. So if you do that, don't be scared that, oh, well, I applied these stones, and now it doesn't look the way I want it to, so I can't remove them. You can very easily just move the stones off of the pen and then just take a paper towel with a little bit of water on it and just kind of wipe up that glue, and you won't even notice that you tried to put another row there. Just make sure that if you do that, when you wipe off that glue, if you shifted any of the stones, that is ultimately going to be your last row of stones, just go ahead and reposition them, get them back in place where you want them to be, and then you're pretty much good to go. So after this, I did let this sit for 7 days and let it cure. I've heard with liquid fusion, you really need to wait those 7 days to let the glue completely cure before you clean up this pen. So I let it sit for 7 days. After the 7 days, I took it to the sink, used some Dawn dish soap and some water and a toothbrush, and just scrubbed and, use the toothbrush to clean up the stones, because you will get some wax residue and some extra glue, and that's just going to clean it up. So here we go, guys. It's all done. Look how it is sparkling in the sun. Look at the sparkle in my hand. Like, I am so impressed with the sparkle of these stones. So I hope y'all enjoyed this first rhinestone video. If you did, please like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss another video from me. Everything will be linked in the description, along with my Facebook group and my TikTok, so check that out. I hope y'all have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.